Hi everyone. Please let me know how the sound is. Hopefully the video is okay as well. Once I know it's all good, we can get started, and I have some announcements to make before the tour begins. I've probably chosen the worst timing for the tour, but maybe not. I'm not entirely sure. Hi Sharon, hi Adrian, good to see you ladies, and hi everyone else joining us. As you know, I don't see the names of everyone's logged in, but once you show up and chime in on the chat, I know. So my chat is lagging by maybe 15 to 20 seconds, but I'm here. So today is the tour of the Jewish heritage of Chișinău, the capital of Moldova. And the city and the country has been through a lot, and especially in the 20th century. And this is next to impossible to lovely to see on Monday as well. I know it's not really my regular day, what can I say, but I'm traveling and trying to make the most of it. And the thing is that Chișinău had such a big Jewish community, and it wasn't really like the Jewish community wasn't really limited to only or like restricted to live in just one particular area of Chișinău. I'm not talking about the ghetto times. We'll get there. We'll get to ghetto, but not now. Thank goodness. Hi Marty, hi everyone, hi Natalie. So, the places, sorry, the sites that are, that have survived the 20th century, the Second World War, and everything else are really scattered around the city. And it's next to impossible to cover them all. And I wasn't really aiming for this, but today it's also a little bit more complicated because on the 31st of August, Moldova is celebrating the Language Day. This is the day when in 1989, 31st of August, thank you, that's my old head. I bought it like a month ago or something, but it's already an old one. Look, it's been through a lot. It survived, but to me, yeah, almost, you see, almost survived. Yeah, so what was I talking about? Yes, and today the entire country is celebrating the switch to the Romanian language and Latin, like Latin Romanian alphabet at the very end of the Soviet period, and the whole downtown is blocked for cars. There are a lot of people, there are a lot of stalls with national produce, there's a beautiful market and things like that, and I didn't know that when I was planning the tour and when I was planning my itinerary and designing the itinerary, because obviously, even though I'm not a licensed tour guide and I've never been to Chișinău before, well, I I had to do some research, and it's taken me a while. So, buffering a lot. Really? Is it buffering for everyone? This is so weird. Not buffering. Okay, very good. So I'm gonna have to be playing it by ear. We might overrun a little bit. I will try to balance the good and the bad, the sad and the happy. We'll kind of try to trace. Hi. We'll try to trace the history of the Jewish community, the numbers, the personalities, well, some personalities behind it. We'll see how it goes. So we'll definitely will have to be playing it by ear. But I will also provide some photographs, old photographs, some maps for you to understand what's going on, because otherwise it actually has to take the entire day to cover the sites around the city. Okay, so let me switch the camera. And well, this view is not really saying much, right? This one probably does a little bit. Actually, this is the big drama theater. It's a modern building from the, well, let's say relatively modern, from the Soviet period, and is looking very unassuming. This street itself is quite old. Hi Ronnie, good to see you. But The thing is that after the destructions during the Second World War, yeah, I hope it's better if you refresh, because it's looking totally fine on my end. And definitely I'm not the only one, but we'll see. So you will see a lot of buildings. Let's say you can see a historic building like this one standing. Good, that's good. Standing next to something new, and standing next to something Soviet and ugly, because of destructions during the Second World War. That's the first thing. And obviously the total disregard of the Soviets of their heritage, or like almost zero regard whatsoever. And this is just one of the examples. And then assuming building of a theater. The theater is really good. It's actually named after Anton Chekhov. That's the Russian language theater. But there is something that's relevant to our tour here. I will zoom it in. So the Chișinău Choral Synagogue was built between 1910 to 1913. It was funded by the Jewish community of Bessarabia, closed by decision of the authorities in 1945. Obviously, you understand what authorities I'm talking about. I'll provide a quick recap on the history of this country, what is Bessarabia, what was happening in 1910s, and why the synagogue closed. But first I want to show you a photograph. I will step backwards from here to give you some understanding, some dimensions. Okay, this car is not going to, it's just, the car has just stopped. The roads are a bit weird today. So have a look. I'm zooming out. This is the building of the theater, pretty big one. And this is what the synagogue looked. I'm probably standing somewhere here, but you have an idea. I don't really have too much time walking around and just showing you the right angles, but at least you understand. Hi, Dorley dear. I saw some messages from you, but I couldn't really open them. I will take a look at them later. I'm so sorry. And I also have some DMs that I haven't seen yet. Just a little bit pressed for time. Had to combine a few things into just a couple of hours. Wasn't easy. And well, so what's going on here? That synagogue, huge, the grand choral synagogue, looking opulent in the Moorish style, taking a huge plot here. Well, the thing is that we know of the, let's say, the early presence of Jews here in the territory of Bessarabia. That's the name of this, we could say, a county of Bessarabia or a region of Bessarabia. The name coming from the 1812, and from then on, when this part of the Moldavia kingdom was taken from the Ottoman Empire by the Russian army, and it was joined to the territory of the Russian Empire. And this is when Jewish community started to grow. A lot of Jews from other areas came. Obviously, this was within the pales of settlement, and it started growing tremendously. But that synagogue was huge. Once again, have a look. That is huge. The theater building is huge as well, which means the community was pretty big. We're talking 1910s when it was built, the early 20th century. So imagine, well, just to provide you some figures, and I will start moving because we cannot waste time. We're gonna have to be doing some walking, and probably we have to be taking a longer stroll even when I thought. So just imagine in, well, let's say in the early 19th century, somewhat 1830, that's approximately the same time when that cathedral was built. If you watched my tour yesterday, then you can definitely recognize the building. That's the Metropolitan Cathedral of Chișinău, obviously Orthodox, actually Russian Orthodox, because this was built already under the Russians. And the Jewish population from just several thousands in 1830, by 1870s, this is when the census was carried out, made up somewhat around 50,000. The small population, the population of Chișinău, which was somewhat several dozens of thousands, became somewhat 120. And almost 50% of the population of Chișinău were Jews. This country, this corner of the Russian Empire, wasn't a country, but it wasn't independent. So you'll already start seeing a lot of people. Yeah, this is what I was talking about. The national holiday, the celebration of the Romanian language, the return to the Romanian language, so to speak. So we're gonna be distracted by a few things here and there, but please forgive me, I'm gonna have to stick to the Jewish narrative here, since that's the tour, so I will be focusing on that and we'll have to be skipping some things. Okay, and I'm gonna need to cross here somehow. Okay. Also, you'll be seeing a lot of people wearing national costumes. But we need to see the church first for a few things, just for our orientation. So the Chișinău had existed already, had been around way before. Sorry, wasn't looking at the chat. Once I stop somewhere quiet, I'll have a look at the chat and comment if there's an answer, if there are questions. So as I said, Chișinău had already existed when the Russians took this part of eastern part of the Moldavia kingdom. And Chișinău was just a small town with probably several thousands of Jewish families. I would say maybe up to 1,000 of the Jewish families. And it was just a small town. I want to show you a few photographs. The church is important again for our orientation. This is the photo I showed you yesterday as well. Over here, in the foreground, this is the old city. This is the city that had existed before the Russian part of the story. Which means most of these buildings in the foreground were built under the Ottomans. And this is where the old part of the old city is. In 1830, the church was constructed. You can see the church here. There you go. And city started to grow. It became a big financial center of Bessarabia. And here is the city plan I want to show you. What you see below this line is looking chaotic, not a single straight line. This is the old part. This is exactly what is, let's say, where most of the Jewish population also had been living. This part over here already, this is what would be constructed after 1830s. Well, after 1812, when Bessarabia became part of the Russian Empire. And when it became the financial center of Bessarabia, a lot of businesses would be in the development, and a lot of immigrants would be becoming merchants, and a lot of Jewish families. That's the usual thing. So as I said, starting from just several thousands, within somewhat 50 years, the population, I don't even know, it's not even quadrupled. I don't even know. That's like, imagine 50% of the population of the city was Jewish. So somewhat 120,000 population altogether, and about, let's say, 50,000 plus, well, give or take, would be made up of the Jewish families. And imagine the long Alexander Avenue, the street I showed you yesterday. I really want to stay here for a second. From here, you see the colonnade, right? And Main Avenue, which was built alongside the construction of the church, I will show you. That's what I'm talking about. It kind of was so-called the border between the old city and the new one. This is what the avenue looked like in somewhat mid-19th century. And the wealth of this region will be accumulating. I love these colors. Wow, that's just beautiful. I wish we had the Coral Synagogue building still with us. Oh wow, that is incredible. I'm definitely gonna need a screenshot of that. I would really appreciate your help here. The sun is looking incredible. Wow, really wish we could take a photo of the Coral Synagogue in the same light, but that's not possible. The population, the Jewish population flourished, and imagine that it wasn't just one grand Coral Synagogue that was constructed by 1900s, by the, let's say, early 20th century. In just Chișinău, there were 70 synagogues and prayer homes. 70. I'm not joking, I'm not imagining these figures. 70. We are walking now in the park of the cathedral park, over here towards actually towards the older part with less regular streets. And back in the days, there was a so-called unwritten rule that applied to the construction of synagogues. There had to be 1,500 people, so there had to be built a synagogue for every 500 people. Once the community was big enough and made up 500, okay, I will cross. I need to hurry up. Whew, beautiful building, 19th century. Moving on. There you go. So the day of Romanian language. So we are entering the pedestrian street. You will see here a lot of flags of Moldova. You will see people dressed in national costumes. It reminds me a little bit of the Ukrainian national costumes, which makes sense since Moldova borders on Ukraine from the south. And we go on. I'll be stopping here and there just to give you a little virtual taste of what's going on here. But this walking street now is full of mostly eateries. And these stalls offer all sorts of foods, national foods, and not only the pies. Oof. All sorts of pies. You'll be seeing here all sorts of breads, the traditional Moldovan pies with cheese and potatoes and the cottage cheese. All these traditional pastries, savory and sweet. Oof. Okay, I better not. Don't get me started. So I'm getting back to the narrative, and so imagine more than 70 synagogues and praying homes. The community was very strong, and one may think that the community was super rich. Well, not exactly. Predominantly, the big part of the population was mostly quite poor, and that's why they lived in the lower city. So we could say that they have here in Chișinău the lower city, which is the less regular streets, and the upper city. I will show you once again. Also, there's a lot of police, a lot of streets blocked, and I had to a little bit readjust my itinerary for today. So that's why I was a little bit busy. So the lower city, the upper city, the older city, the newer city. But all of it now makes up the old city, so to speak. But obviously not all of this. Well, I would say maybe 10% of everything, maybe 15% survived the war, and about a quarter also was restored after the Second World War. After the collapse of the Russian Empire, Moldova joined Romania, and imagine that the number of let's say the I will try somehow. Oh, give me a second, you know. I need to go behind the stalls because of the celebration. I should be able to, but no, probably not from here. The building I want to show you is behind the stalls. And as I'm doing that, I'm passing slowly so you can see bits of the items on sale here. And I'm also, look at these beautiful arrangements. Oh, they have beautiful, beautiful wreaths, dried flowers and compositions, beautiful bouquets. That is sweet. That is very sweet. Sharon, you haven't seen it. You haven't seen all these bells. You haven't. Beautiful lace work, crochet. Piano themed walkway. Yes, exactly. I wasn't even showing it. Yes, very good. You were eating, so you missed the bells. Good for you. Good for you. Good for you. Again, sorry guys. I really wish I could stop by the stalls, but that's a whole different tour, and I have to sacrifice something because I don't want to turn it into a 2-hour Jewish slash Romania slash Moldova heritage. I don't really want to do that. So let me know if I'm back, because I got kicked out of YouTube as I was trying to sneak here behind the stalls. I'm not even sure if I'm allowed to be here, but probably I am. Also, there are a lot of governmental buildings, so we might be experiencing technical things here, technical issues. Back, okay, very good. So, what's going on here? I had to go back to the back of the stalls to show you this building. Look, this is the Jewish community of Republic of Moldova. Let me come close over here. The Lemnare synagogue, built in the first half of the 19th century, was located here. The building has been restored and is looking probably even better than it was. Look at this. I wish I could show it to you from that side of the street, but because of the stalls, I think this is the best I can offer. I hope you can see that, but I will show you some other photograph. So imagine, it was just one of the 70 synagogues. We've seen the Choral Synagogue, and imagine of the dozens and dozens more. I will show you more photographs, but we won't be able to see any other. And it is still, well, it is the, let's say, the center, the heart of the Jewish community of Moldova. Gorgeous windows, yes, looking nicely. It now houses several Jewish organizations, Kedem, for example, Hesed, and several others. I haven't been inside today, it was closed, but I have been to some other one. And I want to show you one photograph, actually, what this building looked like. And I will explain the name of the synagogue. So, Lemnare synagogue. This is the photograph taken from that side where there is a stage now, and I gotta be going because I don't want to be stuck here when the concert begins. The concert is to begin in about 30 minutes, and I have no idea when they plan to block the passage. But anyway, so this is the photograph of the Lemnare wooden synagogue, and you see a lot of people. I will explain what's going on, but I have to get going. Again, sorry guys. Anything can go wrong on a live stream, so that's exactly what's happening. We need to hurry up, and it's probably gonna get a bit too loud here. Then playing yet, you see people are gathering, the press is gathering, police presence is over the top, and I don't want to attract excessive attention. So I'm just, a vlogger filming the concert. That's a big deal. That's a big deal. And I'm happy to be in the city during these festivities. But I probably could have scheduled a little differently. Okay, oops. Okay, we go. So Limnaria, the wooden synagogue. What's going on? The thing is, okay, I will move over here. Just passing the police. I don't want to be stopped. I have a passport with me and everything, so I don't think I'm in any danger, but didn't want to risk. I don't want to be stopped by the police, to be honest. It's not really nice. Okay, and you can see we are in a much quieter area. So why is it the Limnaria synagogue? The thing is, there were different synagogues with really interesting names. For example, oh, you know what? I've just accidentally found a photograph that I have prepared once I realized that I won't be able to show you the building because of the stalls. I forgot that I actually have prepared a bigger photograph. The building of the Lemner synagogue. Well, since there were so many Jews and Jews were not really restricted to where to build synagogues and where to live, well, it just mainly it depended on. Okay, so this is kind of the road that the public transport is allowed to take, because the public transport is operating, but cars not allowed here. So I'm gonna use this opportunity to cross, and we need to get going further down that road. And the further we go, the less beautiful and more post-Soviet is going to look. But this is the part of the story. So, Jews formed guilds. There were guilds of, tanners, glaziers, glassmakers. There were guilds of carpenters. So this wooden synagogue, the Limnaria synagogue, was the synagogue of the carpenters and woodpeckers, maybe the woodpeckers. And they were also other synagogues, the synagogues of glaziers, for example. I'm going to show the glazier synagogue. Give me a second. Oh. And this building still functions as a synagogue. This is the Beit Chabad, the Chabad Lubavitch Center. Powerful organization that's present in every country of the world, well, nearly every country of the world. The Chabad house, there you go. And this was the former synagogue of the glaziers. And this is the synagogue I have been able to visit today. I will check. Yeah. Hold on a second. I will need a minute. I need the third hand. I need the first hand. I was allowed to make a short video of the synagogue. The building had to be restored. But the amazing thing is this particular synagogue, located in the middle of nowhere, in quite an ugly street, to be honest. Actually, I'll show you the street as well. This is the synagogue that was functioning, that was not closed by the Soviets, especially from 1941 starting from 1944, let's put it this way. So what's going on here? As I said, starting from 1917, when the Russian Empire collapsed, next year Moldova joined Romania, and up until 1940 it was part of Romania. After Molotov-Ribbentrop Pact in 1939, when Hitler kind of recognized and was okay with the Stalin's ambitions to return Bessarabia, so eastern part of the Moldavia, Kingdom of Moldavia, to Russia. Well, the Soviet troops invaded, and until 1941, when the Romanian and Nazi troops took over, the Soviet presence in Romania was pretty strong. Soviet presence in Moldova was pretty strong, and in Chișinău. Then, up until 1944, Romania controlled Chișinău, controlled Moldova, and Those were the years I will be talking about very soon. But now, again, I'm sorry, this street is nothing really special, but this gives me opportunity to tell you the story. So the Glacier Synagogue was the only one that functioned when the Soviets, well, so-called when the Red Army liberated Moldova and the Chișinău, and when Moldova became part of the Soviet Union. Obviously, those Jews that survived the Second World War would be restricted and limited, but the Glacier Synagogue continued functioning. It was the only synagogue that continued functioning throughout the Soviet period, with some exceptions, but you have an idea. So we see here buildings constructed after the war. This is the typical example. Typical buildings post-Soviet, post-war architecture. And it feels like home again. I feel like home. What can I say? But yeah, sorry, it's not so much architectural beauty, but we're kind of approaching the sad chapter, so maybe that's for the better. But before I switch to the sad chapter, a few more photographs that I want to show you. So what exactly did the old city and the Jewish community, well, and the Jewish homes look like? I want to show you just a couple of photographs that I took today, and I want to share some of the news. Well, there were a lot of educational facilities. So yes, I said on the one hand, let's say there were a lot of poor Jews and uneducated, but there were a lot of Jews that contributed greatly to the improvement of the living conditions and education, literacy among the Jewish people. So, for example, there were built several schools for boys and also schools for girls. Look at this building; it's still around, but it's quite far from here, so no chance I could have shown it on my tour, unfortunately. There you go. And there are also a few more things I want to show you over here. Remember the Glacier Synagogue? So the street where the Glacier Synagogue is located looks like that. Have a look. And these are exactly the buildings from the, let's say, mid-19th century. Obviously changed, they're not listed, so people are at liberty to do with them whatever they want. There are small stores. Well, the pavement is broken. It's a little, I mean, it's totally safe. It feels fine to walk there, but you get the point, right? And over here, for example, so that's the area. Here and there, you would come across buildings like that. For example, you see a little bit over here, but immoral, it's just a very different, you kind of feel it. You feel when you kind of cross this border between the upper and the lower city. I want to show you this area photograph. This is Eminescu Street. Not really far, but to the opposite direction from the cathedral. And you know what? I don't think I've ever really shared the story, but oops. Okay. I just accidentally pressed the button and muted everything and everyone. But I hope we're good. I hope it's fine. I do hope so. So what's going on? I don't think I've ever really, okay, I need to cross, but I need to cross it from here. Again, traffic is crazy and people, I'm sure nobody really likes it when roads are closed. But so Misha, my husband, he's Jewish, I'm not. And his grandfather on maternal side, on Emma's side, was actually great grandfather, was born in Chișinău. And after long time, several months of looking and searching, finally Emma was able to get some information from the archives in St. Petersburg. So we have the documents, we have the address, because the documents were transferred. Somehow it was registered in St. Petersburg, where he was born, because he worked in St. Petersburg. He was an artist, Grigory Shah. And in that very house that I showed you in the photograph, this is the address that is listed as his former address in St. Petersburg. This is the house, Minesko Street 79. Just a fun fact. Some news that I still have to process. So, where are we? Well, that's kind of the sad story. After the collapse of the Russian Empire, when Moldova joined, thank you Adrian, thank you everyone, and Moldova joined Romania, there were some restrictions imposed on Jews as well, but they continued to work, and things mainly, well, for more or less the same. But when the Nazis invaded, and the Romanian troops invaded, things started to change very quickly. And the entire Jewish population had to be moved to a ghetto. And where I am now is already the ghetto, the former Chișinău ghetto. Here, I would like to walk a little bit. You wouldn't really find much of the, let's say, of what things used to be like. I'll take you to the monument a little later, but before we talk about the ghetto itself, there is something else that we need to talk about. The pogrom. So in 1881, I know my narrative kind of jumps back and forth, but I had to explain why I've brought you to to this area. I kind of have to explain. So now I'm going to be walking, showing you bits of here and there. You see this fence. So this fence is partly the of the ghetto. You see the fence is pretty old, and that's a little bit tough, but I'll try to be short, not sweet, but you get the point. I'm going to be walking a little bit. I want to show you a few photographs. So in 1981, when Alexander II, Russian emperor, was assassinated, and one of the murderers was, so let's say, opened the ghetto for anti-Semitism, and this is when the pogroms started. However, imagine we're talking 1881. Again, I accidentally pressed the mute button, but it should be fine now. So imagine 1881. This is the year the Tsar was killed. So shortly after the first pogrom started, but it took 20 years to pogroms to take place in Chișinău. So we're talking 1903. The famous pogrom that took place in 1903. It was one of the biggest pogroms that caused the absolutely I'd say unexpected public outcry, international attention, the world press, everything. So just imagine. Let me show you what's happening here. This is now a medical facility, but this is the territory of the former ghetto. Right now it's this is the hospital, the maternity ward. I don't want to be filming the guards, So I'll just film the territory. I want to show you some photographs. I'm not going to be showing you dead people, but I want to show you the aftermath. So what made this pogrom so severe? 49 people were killed. I'm not showing you dead bodies. You can find these photographs easily by yourselves. 49 bodies. 49 people died. Thousands of Jewish businesses, small stores, stalls and whatnot were destroyed. This is what the streets of Chișinău looked like after the pogrom. Where were the authorities? Nobody knows. After the pogrom, the police started investigation. But the problem was, and that's what also caused the pretty massive public outcry, is that instead of putting all the evidence and all the testimonies and uniting it into one case, which of course would get a lot of public attention, it would be a class action, right? Or something. Well, instead of that, for some reason, I want to take you there. That's the area I wanted to show you as a little refresher. And then we will be coming back. So this is the area far from the crowds. This is the area far from the tourist site. Yes, you wouldn't find the beautiful buildings here, but I think here you will feel a little bit of the peace and quiet when talking, well, which is a little bit bizarre knowing what happened here, but I have a free bench here, so I will just take a seat for a short while. Oh, someone left their phone here. Тут кто-то телефон забыл. Не вы? Это ваш? Okay, someone left their phone here. I don't know. Maybe he's not even his, but who knows? I'm gonna sit here for a second. They provide some water sprinkle here, so I think it's a really a nice refresher over here. Hold on a sec. You see? So this is the secret place that usually locals know of, but we're not really, tourists are not really shown this. So it's just a little nice refresher in many ways. It's actually a very hot day. And so instead of turning it into one class action, in which police would have been definitely affected as well, because the police seems to have known. Well, we are now pretty much sure that the police knew about it. Everyone, the city knew about it, and but they were not really involved. And we know of the cases where some of the police actually participated in the pogrom in this or that way. So that's this really harsh thing to say, but that's how things were. This is when the headlines of newspapers went absolutely crazy. This is when a lot of Jewish philanthropists all around the world would be furious with Nicholas II and with the Tsarist anti-Semitic police. There were caricatures like that on Tsar Nicholas asked to do something with the oppressions of the Jews, and he was just sitting as like, oh, so what? These are type of the caricatures that were all over the American and European press. This is just one of the caricatures. A lot of Jewish philanthropists, a lot of hold on a sec, I think I have something else. Well, no, I think this is it. Yes, yeah, this is it. A lot of the Jewish businesses in Europe and America, let's say, started and helped kickstart the immigration processes and a lot of Jews that survived the pogrom started their immigration process either to the Holy Land, or a lot of them moved to the States. So because of that. There was also one more pogrom, but pogrom in 1903, 1905. 1903 is the one that we've spoken about, and 1905 is the new one. Well, is the next one. Okay, I'm gonna cross here. Give me a second, and now we're going back. So, in the photograph, remember I showed you a photo. Give me a second. I showed you the photo of the burial ceremony by the Lemraria synagogue. So this is the burial, but not of a person, but of the Torah scrolls that were damaged. Because imagine that half of those, at least half of all the synagogues that were damaged on that pogrom in 1903, and then also in 1905, well, they were really badly damaged. Some of them were destroyed. And obviously, hold on a second, I will put the hat on. And obviously, sorry, my narrative is really jumping, but there's not much I can do, fortunately. I'm trying, but I'm keeping you in the loop. So 1903, 1905, the photograph of the Lemraria synagogue, they were bearing the Torah scrolls. I want to show you a few more things. Hold on a second. Look what's left of the synagogue. This is the, let's say this is the modern photograph. That synagogue was really badly damaged first during the pogroms and then during the Second World War. And the building has not been restored. It's located in the lower city, so to speak. Just some more of the synagogues. And this building, this synagogue looked like that before the destruction. This is the photograph taken shortly before the pogrom. Now, we are at the, over there, a little bit the intersection with the Jerusalem Street. Look at the gates. Right, this is the maternity hospital that I've already walked by. And now we're coming back here. After, yes, of course, I'm getting to that. So in 1941, I remind you that in 1940, Soviet troops invaded and took over Moldova. That was under the secret pact between secret pact of Molotov-Ribbentrop. So imagine that. For a year and a half, this was the Soviet territory. Then Romanian and Nazi troops together invade. Soviets have to flee. And in 1941, all the Jewish population that remained in Chișinău and Moldova would be taken to ghetto. And this would be the territory of the ghetto. Right here, what we're looking at. I will show you some photographs of this ghetto. And so you can imagine that actually all this entire territory was part of the lower city and was part of the so-called Jewish quarter. This is where a lot of Jews lived. It made sense to arrange a ghetto somewhere where the Jews had already been living, right, in great numbers. I'll show you just some photographs. Remember the gate? That pretty much coincides with the outline of the ghetto, the photographs of the ghetto. The conditions were horrible. It was dirty. People were suffering from malnutrition, mistreated. Women were systematically raped. Well, you can imagine. Again, I'm not showing you dead bodies or anything. Just some photographs. And also you can see the buildings. So the buildings, I don't think that any of those buildings have survived to the day. but those buildings are the parts of the former Jewish quarter. Or like over here. And you can see the examples of those small wooden huts over there. And this is kind of the checkpoint. The Nazis would be checking the documents for everyone leaving and entering the ghetto. So you have the idea. So systematically, little by little, the deportations started. And the Jews would be taken to Transnistria, to the south, to the camps, to the south of the of the country, towards Ukraine. And well, I guess that needless to say what kind of things happened there. I will show you some of the information we have here. There is a monument to the ghetto. Imagine, so summer 1941, just less than 1 year. So July 1941, June 1942, the Chișinău ghetto. So this is the territory. With the stars, you see the number of the synagogues. This is just the synagogues. I was talking about 70. Imagine. So it's also synagogues and praying homes. You understand that. And again, this is the layout. The lower city, you see all sort of irregular layout of the streets and regular. So here in the upper city, in the richer part of the city, there also used to be Jewish businesses, residential buildings and whatnot. Again, as I said, before ghetto, there were no really, limits where Jews were allowed to live. But, so you get the point. Some more photographs. There you go. So there actually was a wooden fence. Now this fence is not the original fence that we have seen. It had to be a wooden fence. So altogether it was about the 4 kilometers of the perimeter of the wooden fence, so nobody could really see through. So there were altogether about 250 guards. Some more photographs over here. So everyone was registered, everyone was listed, everyone was counted, and almost everyone would be deported. So I have some figures here. Once the Jewish men, women, and children were registered, they were forced to move into the ghetto. So that's, according to various estimates, between 10.5 and to 13,000 people were imprisoned in the Chișinău ghetto. General Constantine Niculescu reported the number of persons displaced in the ghetto. So 11, so the numbers, let's say somewhat around 12,000 people at least were imprisoned in the ghetto. And then the deportation started. The deportations of the first group of Jews. You see the photographs. People are packing, not really knowing where they're going to. So the Transnistria, the first deportations in October. So that wasn't too far. It's only an 8-kilometer journey. However, you could compare this to the death marches that the prisoners of Auschwitz and Bergen-Belsen, for example, had to take. But that would be the early years, because people would be just dying, killed, or just thrown off trains and whatnot. So yes, that's the horrible thing. Just some more photographs over here. And just I want to explain. So imagine the last group of Jews, 257 persons in total were deported from ghetto. We're talking already, so the end of October. Remember, start of October, like 8th of October, they started the deportation, and within less than like a month, they were able to deport everyone. So the last group of people were deported from ghetto. According to various sources, well, from 118 to 188 persons were temporarily allowed to remain in the city. Well, the latter were deported to Transnistria, and this would be it. Imagine there was almost no Jewish population left in the city apart from just hundreds. So I guess that's kind of clear what happened to the people and what kind of conditions the Jews were left in the ghetto. And this monument here comprised of two huge pieces of granite. They have the inscriptions in Romanian, in Hebrew, and in Russian. So they commemorate the martyrs and the victims of the Chișinău ghetto. It says, "We alive and we remember. You will not be forgotten." And also the inscription in Hebrew over here. So Dolly said one of my friend's mother was actually thrown off the train by her mother. A peasant found her. Oh my goodness. Let me read once again. Hold on, my chat is a little bit slow. Okay, one of my friend's mother was actually thrown off the train by her mother. A peasant found her raised and she was saved. So yes, that's a very probably rare story of how a person didn't die when he was thrown off the train, because most of this is how people would get rid of the useless, right? And there's one thing. Well, we know why his mother threw him off the train, just to save from camps, right? From the gas chambers or whatnot, right? The architect Scheuchert, the sculptor Applebaum, these names are actually pretty well known in the Soviet art world, in the Soviet architecture in general. And this monument was erected with the help of the Jewish Agency of Sochnut of Moldova. And here we have a Jewish man, very thin, definitely undernourished, but still holding to the book. Because even in the ghetto, even in the horrible conditions of the ghetto, the Jewish life went on for as much as they could. The kids that also lived there together with their mothers would be taken into small study groups, and the heads of the families, the rabbis, would be teaching them no matter what. We have the stones. Someone put the flowers, which is definitely, well, actually I think it's for the better. So that was someone non-Jewish also paying tribute to the victims. So my dear friends, I don't speak Romanian, but just in case. As I said, today I had to play it by ear. Some of the areas that, well, just I was planning to take it to two more areas, but they are today the access to them was closed because of the cars, because of the police and because of the holiday, and due to that I didn't go there. Otherwise it would have taken me twice as long, and then I wouldn't have enough time to come here to the monument. So I had to play it by ear a little bit. So I'm sorry that sometimes my narrative was jumping, but I also had to explain why I'm coming here and there. I tried to show you as much photographs as I could to at least add to the understanding of how diverse, how big the Jewish community was, how many synagogues it had. I didn't want to sound too tragic, didn't want to sound too somber as well. So as I said, I wouldn't be showing you, and I didn't show you any of the, horrible footages, but I think all of us understand what kind of things were happening here and where all those Jews, 11, well, 12, 13,000, where they left to. The problem is that a lot of Jews are still unaccounted for. So that's, according to, again, numbers differ a little bit. So it's more than just a statistical fallacy, of course, but it's several thousands of families and names that are missing, and there's no information whatsoever. So they could have died somewhere on their way to Transnistria, or so we don't know. We don't know where they are. But so right now there are about 10 to 15,000 Jews living in Moldova. Most of them are living in Chișinău, the capital. And there are several strong organizations, and of course the Chabad community, and the Hesed and the Kedem, and there is a strong Jewish Lyceum as well that was actually started by the ORT organization, the organization that was started in St. Petersburg by the Jewish community that provided the technical education and also taught Jewish children all sorts of trades to help them financially, to have them find place in life and provide for their families. So that organization is still around. The country in which this organization was born, the Russian Empire, is long gone, but the organization is thriving and keeps helping a lot of Jewish families around the world, and brings up great specialists. So hopefully at some point all the names will be found, the fate of all the families will be found. And you know, today I started filming locations, the ones that I visited and the ones that I was not able to include on the tour. I hope I will be able, within these 3 days that I still have here, well, 2.5 days, I will be able to film some more locations to put it together into a more comprehensive and coherent story. So this is the challenge that I had to face today, with the roads blocked, with a lot of places closed or not so easy to access. And again, this distances that the locations are scattered around the old city. Well, this is what makes it quite difficult to cover in just one hour. Let me see the chat. I see Sharon has sent me something. Okay. It was very interesting, but of course extremely upsetting, especially as many relatives escaped from the Russian Empire due to the pogroms. I also have Romanian blood. Oh, I didn't know that. I didn't know, Sharon, that you have Romanian blood. But it isn't far away, and for a long time it was one and the same country. Well, for some time it was one and the same country anyway, Romania. And you know, originally we were planning to go to Romania, but our flight was canceled like a month before the trip, and we had to come up with something else. So we thought, okay, we had to find something maybe just not far from Romania, and I think we found the best option, and I'm really happy that I'm here. There's so much I want to film. I want to visit a couple of museums that I want to take you to, which would also be nice connections to the other tours that I have been doing, not only the Jewish heritage, but also the Jewish heritage tours. So I have kind of a lot to cover within the several days, so I will be keeping you posted. So hopefully I will be able to film and put together into a more coherent story. Let me see the chat. Yes, Dorley, of course I will have some time to have fun. I'm going to join my boys now and probably experience the market myself. I'm also a little bit under the weather, probably just lack of sleep or something. So, but I will sleep it off. You have royal. Excuse me, Sharon here has a royal Romanian blood and the Jewish blood. How is this possible? Okay, okay. So once I'm back, I will have some content to share. Well, to throw, sponsors get together, and hopefully Sharon, what's wrong with this hat? It's just so annoying. Will share the story of how on earth she has the Jewish blood. I mean, how on earth she has a royal Romanian blood, but also Jewish. I mean, how is this even possible? Okay, so okay, we'll do that. Noted, for sure. I will announce the get together once I'm back and put the content together to share some with you. So I will also, Misha is going to be, is going to the archives tomorrow tomorrow is the first office day. After this, I don't know, 4 days of festivities in Moldova, so Misha hopefully will be able to find something, and that was the plan, to share the news on the get together when we are back. Thank you, Natalie. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone, for joining. Again, I guess in the given conditions, well, I think it wasn't that bad. Yeah, so thank you for joining. I would appreciate your support. PayPal donations, you could buy me a coffee. Thank you for those who have already supported me, and thank you for joining me no matter where I go. Not so fun. Yes, exactly. It's not so much fun tour, but I tried at least to make it a little bit more lighthearted, but just not to be disrespectful as well. And I specifically didn't want to show too much of the kind of a newer, more beautiful part of the city, because here it has a little bit more authenticity, even though, say, some of the buildings are gone, but we have some photographs and we have some stories. So that's it. Thank you so much for joining me. I will see you soon. I will be putting up my schedule for next weekend, my Jerusalem tour. I haven't scheduled it yet, but I will, and hopefully I'll be able to take you to some newer locations, and I'll put up together all the sites and small videos into a tour of Chișinău. Thank you for joining. I'll see you soon, and thank you for everything, for your support. Bye bye.